Hello, everybody, and thanks so much for joining another incredible Inspired podcast. I'm so excited to be joined by another amazing leader that I can't wait to hear his story and be inspired by all the things that he's been through, and really the opportunity for us just to learn more about our partners. When we started the Inspired podcast, it was with this idea that we wanted to learn from others and make sure that we're thinking about the opportunities we've got and not all the other challenges we have. And it's been amazing to see all of the incredible stories that we've learned from Integrity Partners over the years about how they've overcome different things to really end up where they are today. And that should inspire you in so many ways. And so I'm super excited to be joined by John Gourdin, the founder and CEO of SoundadviceMD, who's now an Integrity Partner. And I'm excited to learn about his diverse background that he's been able to do. John's been a trailblazer in really creating a virtual insurance agency operation that has been remarkable in what they've been able to do. And a lot of that's been shaped by his upbringing. So I can't wait to learn more about that. John, thanks so much for joining the Integrity family. Thanks for being here. We were just catching up on, we met years ago in Baltimore, and now to be sitting here with you is a true honor for me. I can't wait to learn more about you. Now, tell a little bit about SoundadviceMD as we kind of get started so people know about that.
Absolutely. So SoundadviceMD is a primarily Medicare senior-focused insurance agency. What makes us unique is that we focus on delivering our services virtually. So I have agents all over the country that are working from home. And what we found is that those folks are really enjoying the opportunity to run their businesses truly from home.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was thinking about that this morning as I was thinking about getting to see you. Whenever I got started, you might could set an appointment over the phone. Mm-hmm. Back when I got started, man, like you remember you'd have like an AT&T plan or Southwestern Bell plan back then. And it was like, I think I got it down to like 18 cents a minute that I was paying, which, you remember those? You remember those plans, right? Yep. And so you would have to think about it, like, do I try to set appointments over the phone or not? And I wouldn't make any money, so I just gotten started. I was in college, so I started door knocking, right? Mm-hmm. So I never thought that there would be a time that you'd, I remember my unlimited plan. So Ryan Kimball made fun of me on this. I still have like 7,000 rollover minutes on my AT&T plan. I just changed it, but I didn't want to give that up because I had all these free minutes. And he's like, but you have unlimited calling today. But to think about being able to sell over the phone, and how many of our sales now happen over the phone with life, health, and wealth products. In fact, when we created Medicare Center, part of what we did was really make sure that we created the technology, but also the telephony to be able to set that up, including being able to talk to somebody virtually by FaceTime. And man, it's been amazing. So it's remarkable what you've built because you were a trailblazer. When I say trailblazer, you've been doing this for a long time, and it's incredible. And I know that you're such an organized guy. You're so focused on the operational side of the business as well as the sales side. And that came a lot from your father's military background. And I think a lot of what you are and what you become is really about your dad's background. How has that influenced your approach? And tell us about your dad's background, maybe.
Well, my father was a career Marine. He served in the Marine Corps for over 20 years. And I would be remiss if I didn't give my mom her props as well. Because my dad at times would be deployed, and it was just, my mom and the kids. So the same discipline that he instilled in us, she reinforced when he wasn't there as well. But having that structure, hey, it didn't matter if it was Saturday morning or what day of the week. We were up at a certain time, we did our chores, and then we got to play. So we always knew the work comes first. Yeah. So my dad also is a Marine, and I say is a Marine for a reason, because I said he was a Marine one time. Once a Marine, always a Marine, right? My dad was recently in the hospital for some stuff. He then had to go to a rehab center to gain strength back, and it's been kind of a long road. I was over at his house the other night, took him some food, and I said, now, your therapist said you need to walk. Have you walked today? He said, no, I hadn't. He'd just gotten home from the hospital. I said, well, let's go walk. And so I went with him. He's got a walker, and he was, going pretty slow. I said, are you okay? He said, I want to make it to the end of the block. And I said, are you okay? Like, we got about halfway there. And he looked at me, he said, I'm a Marine. I was like, oh my God. I mean, he's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'll be fine. So last night we were together at an event, and he's doing much better now. That was about a week ago. Now he's doing much better.
and he didn't bring his walker. And we had to walk like a long ways for this church event. And I was like, Dad, where's your walker? And he was like, I don't need a walker. I'm fine. And so I'm sitting there just like, please be okay. It's amazing, though, just how that kind of gets embedded in you. Yeah. My wife and I just watched the series called The Pacific. Have you ever watched that?
Absolutely.
So we watched Band of Brothers over Thanksgiving, and then the next series of that's the Pacific, follows the 1st Marine Division going into Asia. Man, like, the Marines have I've got so much respect for them. And I love how you gave your mom props too, because I'm a mama's boy, and that's a huge part of it as well. So what were some of the life lessons your dad gave you? Because I think we probably learned some of the same things.
Absolutely. I think the main thing my dad taught me was self-reliance. What it all came down to is, what he always said to me is, look, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. So the key thing is there's always going to be other opportunities. There's always going to be people to help you. But whether you pass or fail, it's on you. And the other thing is, everyone puts their pants on the same way. So if someone else has had success, that means that you can have success. You just have to follow the same steps. You got to do the work. So it goes back to, my upbringing of Saturday mornings, being up and doing chores before I can play. I got to do the work first. Yeah. You do the work, then you can play later.
Listen, there's so much truth to that if it's up to me, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. There's so much truth in that. That really is, probably what drove you to be successful. And you were successful not only in a lot of things, but you were also successful in football. You were a middle linebacker. You played middle linebacker in college.
I did.
Tell us about that, man.
Well, it's a funny story. I grew up, my family was military, so we moved around a lot. I was originally born in California, and we lived all up and down the East Coast. So I started high school in Georgia. In Georgia, football is king. But there I was too small to play linebacker. They wanted me to play free safety. Then we moved
back then, free safeties were hitters.
Yeah.
Ronnie Lott, Atwater.
Yeah.
Those guys were hitters.
Yeah.
So you put a free safety out there, because back then you could hit people without
it's a different game today.
It's a totally thing. And it needs to be, honestly. I think it probably needs to be.
Absolutely. So when I moved to Maryland, the players were much smaller. So they said, okay, you can play linebacker, but you have to play offensive tackle. And I was like, what? I go from free safety to offensive tackle and linebacker? Okay.
At least you were playing both ways, bro.
I played both ways. But again, what it taught me, though, was, hey, look, I've got to suck it up. I've got to be prepared, because I'm going to be out there the whole game. There's not going to be any breaks. Only time I got to watch the game was on a kickoff, So the rest of the time I'm out there, and I knew that, hey, look, they're counting on me. In both cases, I played left tackle, I played middle linebacker, both key positions on the team, and I had a leadership role. The plays were called into me. I was preparing everyone else. I had to make sure the linemen were aligned. Everyone was in their place, and if I missed a tackle, that's on me,
Yeah.
So
it's meant to be.
Yeah.
If it's meant to be, it's up to me.
It's meant to be, it's up to me.
That's awesome.
So it's about preparation. A lot of times, if I know that, I'm the running back we're playing against is a tank, well, I better hit the weight room hard this week because I got to be ready. So it's all about preparation and making sure you're ready.
So then you went to college. You played middle linebacker in college, but it's interesting that you majored in computer science, and then you ended up in the insurance business. How in the world did you do that?
Well, the funny thing is, my first job was in sales for a bank. I started making money, and I'm like, wow, I like this. This is good. This is the first time I really made any money. Then a headhunter contacted me. I was recruited by an insurance company as a career agent. And then I got into that, and I started making more money. And it was really just, learning how to talk to people, and it was like, okay, I still, was a geek. I still loved computers and everything. But, back then, it wasn't like it is today. Like, the computers were humongous. Our computer lab took up the whole basement.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
None of the things that I learned, well, I won't say none of the things, but most of what I learned about programming is archaic nowadays, Yeah. But what it did teach me is structured thinking, sequential thinking, and logical sequential events. So that kind of feeds into the operational side of things. Hey, look, things have to happen in order. Nothing happens by accident.
Yeah.
There's always going to be contingencies. You got to plan for that.
Yeah, and I think that's where you were able to be a trailblazer, as we said, in this virtual agency aspect, where the idea of having agents that are just working over the phone from their house or wherever is, again, it's amazing how many people we already have doing that today. And what was it about the Medicare business that you fell in love with?
When I started my insurance career, I was doing primarily securities, large, fully underwritten life insurance, annuities, things along those lines. And most of the folks that I talked to were already doing pretty well. Like, I wasn't going to make or break their situation. It was going to be a tip, for lack of any better term. What I found when I first started seeing Medicare clients in underserved communities was that, $100 made it like, I had customers that were crying, and hugging me and cooking for me and, like really embracing me over what many people may consider, very small difference. But what I found was that working in Medicare, working with underserved customers, that you can make a profound difference in their life. And it's not about product, it's about just showing them that you care. Yeah. That helping them understand, it's like the little things and teaching them, like, look, this is what you should do differently, and this is how it's going to help you. A lot of seniors don't go to the doctor regularly because they're afraid of the cost. And it's like, wait a minute, that's backwards. You've heard the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You go to the doctor regularly so they can catch things early so it doesn't cost you a lot of money. And you feel better and you live a longer and healthier life. So it really goes beyond selling a product. It's really about helping people.
Look, I say this all the time. One of our core values is service. Mm-hmm. And I believe that whenever you make that change, that paradigm shift in your mind from I'm here to go out and sell a product and make money to, man, I'm here to serve people. Absolutely. And they're real people. Yep. And when you do that, and then you go, man, that feels better than making money, right? And then you sit there and the byproduct is, the monetary side of it. I've learned that in a lot of examples. One of them was in 2010, my wife's granddad, who's since passed away, was just one of the coolest dudes in the world. He had owned a glass business, had done okay. What happens, especially as you get older, you think, okay, I'm set here. They retire, and then his wife ended up, my wife's grandmother ended up with Alzheimer's and in an Alzheimer's unit. And she went from like vivacious to having, a lot of stuff go on. And they went through most of their money fast. It was in literally, a couple of years that all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh my gosh. And he had a Medicare supplement plan. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him one day and he said, man, my rates just went up. I don't know what we're going to be able to do. And so I said, well, hey, let me work with you on this. And so we worked with him. And we moved him to another plan. Mm-hmm. And saved him $70 a month. Yep. And, look, $70 a month for most people isn't that impactful. He came to my office crying. He was literally just like teared up crying. And he said, I just want to thank you. Like, I'm on the same, we went to plan F to plan F. It was super, simple process for us. Yep. He's crying and he said, I now get to play golf again. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, when I retired, my goal was to play golf. Every day I wanted to play golf. And he said, and then we didn't have the money to pay green fees. Yeah. And now I can at least play golf some again because I saved the money. And I'm like, you're talking about giving him hope back. Yeah. And I told him, if you know me, I'm not a golfer. I told him, I said, let's go play golf then. Mm-hmm. It's the last time I played golf because I suck so bad that he told me, he goes, look, maybe you shouldn't be playing golf. I should be playing golf. The last time I played golf, I think it was like in 2010 because I sucked pretty bad. But it was really cool to watch that experience. It's amazing how we can help people. And when you have that, that's where I think we're in one of the most virtuous businesses. It's a virtuous business, meaning that everybody wins. The insurance company wins, the agent wins, the agency wins, the consumer has to win. Yep. And it's a noble business. When you're giving people hope back, when you're giving people their health care, when they go to a hospital, and you hear those stories, and we've got thousands of stories about how we've helped people, real people, with their health care. And then when you figure that out, man, you're never working a day in your life.
Absolutely.
And that's why being able to take the processes that you've learned, taking the way that you've been able to then say, like, let me help you do this virtually. And now the market is open to that, right? COVID helped a lot with your business.
It did. Best year ever.
Yeah, I mean, and it's amazing because then people are like, yeah, I'll try this over the phone. And just to watch you and all the success you've had has been incredible. What are you most excited about now joining Integrity?
Well, having access to so many additional resources. I mean, as an insurance agency principal, there's so many things that in the legal, technology, marketing, like you can't know everything, you can't do everything. But being able to plug into an organization that there's other people that have the exact same expectations and goals, and there's other folks that already have that experience that you can just plug into and say, hey, how did you do this? Instead of trying to figure it all out by yourself. Yeah. And that's been one of my challenges. It's a double-edged sword. You know, I do believe if it's meant to be, it's up to me. But things Tony always told me, you know, hey, look, you know, you got to reach out for help, man. You know, there's people you can talk to that can help you with these things. You don't have to do it all yourself. Yeah,
listen, I think as soon as you can figure that out in business, the most successful that we've been is when we've all said, hey, let's get people who are world-class. And now you were talking about Tony. You know, Tony Holland, one of our great partners, is the one who introduced us. And, you know, he recognized that as well, of saying, like, I'm growing my business, I'm doing well, but man, if I could be part of a bigger platform just like you, and that's, I mean, same thing. I can look at where we were when we were trying to do it on our own, and then that was the idea of Integrity is like, guys, if we all try to do this on our own, none of us are going to be successful. But if we come together and work as a team, you know, it's like playing football. If you try to take on that entire team by yourself, it's not going to work. But if you got great teammates that are doing their job, there's no limit to where we can go. And so that's where we're so excited to have another great partner like yourself to help us innovate even on the virtual side to think about how do we serve more people ultimately.
Absolutely.
Hey, buddy, thanks so much. Welcome to the Integrity family. I hope you all are as excited as I am. And there's so many things we can learn about from our partners. But I think this point of saying, look, how can we come together and leverage world-class technology, leverage world-class talent, leverage the relationships, and ultimately, how do we focus on serving more people so that they have that experience? That's why I'm so proud to have incredible partners like you and all the incredible partners we have throughout the Integrity family. And I believe that as we continue to pull it all together and serve more people, there's no limit to what we can do. I hope everybody has an incredible week. God bless you all, and thanks for joining today's Inspire Podcast.